Today it is time for a best-of-5 series of top-level StarCraft 2, and what I've got for you is a Terran versus Zerg, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on the map Nightshade. Spawning here in the bottom right-hand corner, playing with the blue Terran SCVs. He's the #1 Terran player in the world, he's from South Korea, and he goes by the name Maru. His opponent in the opposite corner, playing here with the red Zerg drones. Likewise, also one of the strongest StarCraft 2 players on the planet. We have none other than Rogue. Now, I'm always excited whenever I get to cast any of these two players' games, because neither of them, especially Maru, really participates in a whole lot of online cups. It turns out when you have close to I think like $1 million or so worth of prize money alone, you don't really participate in the $100 weekly tournaments anymore. It's a little bit sad because it means that I don't get to cast nearly as many of their games as I would like to, but this should be a really awesome series. So this was played a couple of days ago during IEM Katowice, and while it wasn't quite the grand finals, a lot of people said that this should have been the grand finals, because these games, they are significantly better than the actual grand finals. Now, without spoiling it, they weren't very exciting. They were even a little bit one-sided, so we should be in for a treat right here between these two players. They're actually teammates as well. That is something worth pointing out. I don't know if they live together. A lot of those top-level teams, at the very least back in the day, used to live together. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. Anyways, there might be some mind games going on here, is what I'm trying to say. It is going to be that standard hatch gas pool, though. Also a standard barracks expanded, looks like, from Maru. So nothing out of the ordinary. Usually game number 1, especially between top-level players, usually is a more macro-focused game, where players don't really like to, you know, mess up all too much. Both of these guys are very good at playing macro. I mean, obviously, some players are known for playing cheeky builds, right? These two guys, though, I mean, they will go for cheese whenever they want to. Obviously, if you want to be a tournament player, you have to be able to go for different kinds of aggressions. But I would say they very much so are macro-focused players by default. So, very quick third hatchery right here coming up from Rogue. This has become the standard over like the last year or two. He needs to get this hatchery down, though. He's not at 300 minerals yet. Before the Reaper arrives. Okay, that was gonna be closer than it needed to be. I think he probably didn't micro any of the drones here inside of the main base. If you micro the drones perfectly, you can get, you know, the 300 minerals up a little bit quicker. I know on this map in particular, it's a very tight timing. Basically, what Zerg players do now is they go hatch a gas pool. Initially, they rally 3 drones into the gas, but at 60 gas, they pull 2 drones out, make a third base before the Reaper can arrive, and this way you can still get Zerging speed done at a reasonable time before the 3rd and the 4th Hellions start roaming the map. Looks like Maru, though, is going for a very standard opener here as well, and is switching over that barracks with the factory. So that means that the Hellions can indeed be produced. A Marine coming up as well to deny any kind of Overlord scout here. But he's decided to go for the starport before really going for the 3rd command center. In the meantime, sending that the Reaper to watch the high ground. Tries to figure out exactly what's happening here, but nothing out of the ordinary just yet. He wants to know, though, if maybe there's like a second gas taken, if maybe he's already returned the drones into the gas, if there's already a roach warren or a bailing nest or something along those lines coming up, but he can't really figure that out at this point in the game. Very safe opener, though, actually. Yeah, it's gonna even be a double tech lab right now for Maru, so there should be a bio follow-up as time goes by. He could go for Banshees. I mean, he could also go Battlecruiser, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Yeah, there we go. He does decide to go for the Banshee. So this is, I like this build, actually. It's the safest way of opening up macro-wise for Terran. So if you go for the Viking into Banshee, oftentimes you can be in some trouble against Roach Ravager pushes. And since he doesn't really know if that's the case in this particular game, he's taking it very, very safely. Some Roach Ravager pushes hit so early that, well, if you don't have the Banshee first, you actually just take so much damage in the meantime. Eventually, obviously, the Banshees clean that up, but yeah, if you go Viking first, it's just a little bit riskier. This is super safe and really not any risk whatsoever. So, Roach Warren right there does get spotted. Interesting positioning, actually, from Rogue. Maybe he's hiding it in plain sight. Already, by the way, Rogue also taking very, very safe approaches. Look at this, right? He knows nothing. He sees that more Hellions are crossing the map. He knows that he's got some vision over at the 3rd base. He's got a Link patrolling here to see any, like, Medivacs or maybe, like, you know, other flying units moving out. But he doesn't know anything. He's just getting himself the blind Spore Crawlers. It makes sense. Normally, the very first Banshee should arrive about 5 minutes into the game. If it's a Viking into a Banshee, that is. So at this point, he hasn't seen the Viking either. I mean, none of his overlords have taken any damage. So I guess that means he's probably assuming at this point it's either double Banshee, which it is, or that it's going to be a battlecruiser opener. That probably explains the timing here as well of the lair. Spore Crawler inside of the main as well. But here we go. The two Banshees were waiting for the cloaking field to finish up. In the meantime, Maru already transitioning, of course. Now, will this be spotted, actually? He does have a glimpse right here of the two Banshees. I'm assuming Rogue saw that. Yep, already makes the Overseer, so he is A-okay, not really taking any risks. Now, yeah, the real strength of these kinds of pushes, though, is that you can go for the 1-2 punch, right? You can hit with the Banshees in the natural, and then at the same time hit with the Hellions over at the third base. Let's see what the multi-pronged harassment is going to look like. One Queen taking an awful lot of damage already. Transfuse does come up. How many drones is he going to be able to get at the meantime? Or in the meantime, rather. He's also sending those Hellions a little bit further forward. Not really diving into the mineral line, though. I mean, I don't think that would have been a good choice either way. Zerglings were already waiting there. A couple of roaches are coming up as well. But some players will opt to dive a little bit deeper. Well, maybe he decides to go in anyway. Yeah, it's game number 1 of the series. Like, players really do play differently in game number 1 of a series like this. He's really just trying to go for guaranteed damage. Getting a Queen or two, absolutely massive. Well, you don't really want the Hellions for all too much longer either. And you know what? If they line them up like that, ooh, well, that's what I mean. 3 drones going down there. It's 7 in total. Is that enough? Honestly, not really. You lose all of the Hellions and the Reaper there as well. And right now, this is the moment where Zerg can do whatever they like. Apparently, it's going to just be your classical 1-1 timing attack. Look at this. This is the build order that I teach pretty much all of the Zerg players when I start with coaching. As you probably know, I do coaching through my Patreon page, in case you're interested. I mean, currently it's sold out, but I do Patreon, or I do have a Patreon page where I do offer some cool StarCraft 2 perks as well. One of them is one-on-one coaching. So, Roaches with +1/+1, it's one of the most standard timing attacks for StarCraft 2, and it's really good. It's played at the top level of StarCraft, as you can see right here as well, apparently to open up a series in particular. Now, there is a bit of a twist here, as the Nidus network is also being produced. Rogue is currently moving out with most of the Bio army on the other side of the map, so this is going to be a little bit of an awkward push already. One siege tank immediately will fall. This can kill a ton of units. Now, obviously, those Banshees, they are still alive from earlier. Brenda apparently also pulled away from the mineral line, so she's going to be able to help out here as well. Reinforcing Zerg units, though. They're just sort of rallying to their deaths right now, as Maru is picking up so many of those units here. Beautiful move there, actually, by the South Korean Terran player. But, oh my god, I say that, and immediately I jinxed it. A lot of SCVs go down there to a couple of Biles, and that includes those 2 Banshees as well. So very sloppy game, actually, up to this point, if I'm being honest with you. Like, both players played a very good early game, but this last minute or so, a little bit of a disaster. Rogue running a lot of units to their grave right here against a bunch of Marines, because they weren't on attack move, and then likewise, those Biles did way, way, way too much damage. Maru probably not happy with this situation whatsoever. The thing is, forcing to lift the 3rd command center, it sucks, losing all those SCVs. I mean, yeah, you have mules, so you can make use of those, but it's just not ideal. It's actually pretty cool that, like, Roach Ravager, once again, has become pretty popular. I saw a lot of pro players actually play this style. It's one of the strategies I've been trying to learn myself over the last couple of days when playing Zerg. There was one game in particular, Special versus Dark, game number 1. It's one of the best, like, build orders that I've played recently. It's really, really good. It's also a Roach Ravager-based one. Now, we did see the Nidus network. This was scouted almost immediately. Maru knows that it's up, but maybe it's just maybe it's just produced just to, like, you know, put a little bit of pressure right there on the Terran player. Knowing that maybe, like, a Nidus network can pop up here in just a second. It's certainly not a bad idea. This could certainly also be that mind game that I was talking about, right? Since both of these guys are teammates, there's certainly a chance that neither of them really, you know, feels all too comfortable playing against the other. I wonder if, like, in practice, Rogue may have gone for a lot of Nidus all-ins, and now he's just getting the Nidus network, just for, like, a pretty structure, knowing his opponent would scout it, because it's also such an obvious location, right? This is a spot that pretty much always will be seen by a medevac at some point in the game. Anyways, if you look at that minimap, though, a lot of the Roach army has started moving. 4th command center now being acquired. Or actually, no, that's the 3rd command center for Maru. Never mind. I was going to say that seems pretty quick. A lot of the Marines will be forced to get picked up once again, but 2-2 is finishing, and Rogue went for a 1-1 timing attack. I wonder if he will decide to go for a 2-2 timing attack as well. Once again, wow, not even a cancel either. Maru manages to get the kill right there on that fourth hatchery. Oh my god. Oh, that's actually huge, though. Double Evo chamber did get sniped there before the upgrades finished up. At the same time, though, the Zerg army is flooding into the main base. Nidus networks can be deployed here as well, and if you can get on top of that production, it immediately gets very disastrous. Still, there's a lot of reinforcing Zerg units, and despite them not having their upgrades... Ooh, one medevac actually falls there as well. Usually, if Zerg gets on top of that juicy underbelly here of the Terran, right on top of the production, all of the units can be picked off for basically free. And since there is enough army for Zerg to keep deflecting this Terran dropship harass, yeah, I think he will be okay. Rogue wins game number 1. Alrighty, so here we go. Game number 2. It takes us to the map Eternal Empire. Now, I gotta be honest with you, though. Game number 1, it was a little bit sloppy for this level of play, right? So you can see pro gamers, believe it or not, they are human too. I know. Some of them may play like a machine every once in a while, but yeah, this was definitely not the cleanest game that I've seen both of them play. I mean, not canceling the fourth hatchery a couple of times, losing those evolution chambers because they were in such a vulnerable position and you didn't really have any defense for them. And then likewise on the side of the Terran, taking those huge corrosive biles on both the Banshees and then also the SCVs at the same time. That shouldn't be happening. That shouldn't be happening at this level of play. So despite Rogue winning game number 1, I can imagine he's not necessarily all too happy about it. Now you can see though, he is mixing it up right now. Going for a spawning pool first. I wonder though, if maybe that's like, maybe it's because of like nerves. Maybe it's because they're playing on stage, which is very different than like playing from the comfort of your own home. Maybe it's because they're playing against their teammate. Maybe it's because they're playing for like a share of $400,000, right? I don't really know exactly what the cause is, but let's hope they warm up a little bit as this series goes by. I mean, I think it's fair to critique them, right? Even if I can't do better myself. I've seen some comments in the comment section down below where where someone says like, Lowko, I can't believe you're critiquing these players. Like, you could do a better job. It's like, wait a second. I don't think that's how this works. I don't think that's how this works at all. Anyways, we will have, once again, a very standard expo right here for Maru. This wasn't, by the way, the most aggressive build here from Rogue. Maybe this is, once again, a little bit of a mind game, right? So this is a map where triple barracks harass is very common. So sometimes we'll see, like, proxy 3 wrecks right over here on this side of the map, or right over here, or even behind, like, the third base of the Zerg. There's a lot of locations where Terrans can put those barracks very comfortably. Right over here is another spot that's pretty common. And you can, like, put bunkers over it. Like, it's scary, it's scary. So Rogue, he did decide to go for the pool first, which is significantly better against those triple command center cheeses. It's also one of those builds that maybe Maru considers for one of the future games in this series. So say he wants to go for like a proxy triple Rex at some point in the series, right? Knowing that Rogue decided to already go for a pool first may deter him from doing so. So there's a lot of clever plays that are being played in a best of 5 that might not necessarily be so relevant when you play primarily on the ladder. Not a lot of mind games you can do at that point. How cool would it be, right? If you could like play a ladder series, and rather than queuing up a 1v1, you could like queue up a best of 3. How sick would that be? I guess it's a little bit more of a time commitment, but imagine you could do like a best of 3 against, you know, the same opponent. I would love that. That'd be so cool. And you get like twice the amount of MMR if you win or lose. I think that would be really cool. I don't know, maybe just me. I've been asking for something like that for a long time though, but I don't think it's ever going to happen at this point. Anyways, once again, very normal opener here. Maru this time around, because of the map, he does manage to get himself that Reaper inside of the main. This is actually also a map where triple barracks Reapers are very common. So you have this pretty wide ramp to jump up on. And it does create a nice opportunity for Terran to get a little bit of damage done. Alrighty, so let's pay attention right here to what Maru is doing. He decided to go for a very standard 1-1-1 in game number 1. Honestly, like, it felt like he had everything going for himself. And the only reason why he didn't end up winning that game was because he miscontrolled. Now, obviously, that's easier said than done, but I don't think the build order really was the issue. Wouldn't be surprised if he goes for a very similar approach this time around as well. So it is going to be a Liberator this time rather than a Banshee opener. Normally, the standard timing for a third command center is about 4:30. So that's what I'm looking out for right now as well on that production tab. But he's actually making a Reaper. Huh. He's making a Reaper? I mean, he did end up losing the one on the other side of the map. I wonder if that's maybe a misplay or if he really wants to go for the Hellion plus Reaper harass. It's a little bit odd. No, there's no way that's a misplay. There, by the way, do we see the third command center? He's gonna plant it inside of the main instead. So maybe he's anticipating that there could be some sort of push here coming up from the South Korean Zerg. What does Maru know at this point? He hasn't seen the third base. He hasn't seen this wall off right here at the top of the ramp. Since he lost that Reaper over here, he doesn't know what's going on. But one big giveaway, at least, that I think can be scouted quite easily is the fact that Zerg decided to go for a tumor inside of the main base. Right? It's not necessarily a 100%, you know, sealed deal. But generally speaking, if Zerg wants to go for a really aggressive all-in, they will optimize Queen Inject over anything else. Well, you can try, but you're not going to be able to hide very easily. I think that Liberator is pretty much, well, not dead yet, but there's a couple still waiting over here too. It just barely stays alive. At the same time, though, the Hellion is now committing towards what seems to be the natural of the Zerg. This is much better. I like this a lot more. The Queens, they were busy shooting away at that Liberator. The classic 1-2 punch didn't quite work out in game number 1. Seems to be working significantly better up to this point. Well, I say that. You know what? Like, he did a similar amount of damage. Did he end up losing the Liberator too? He did. The Liberator also died. It felt like the entire mineral line was about to go down, but Zerg players have gotten so good at, like, splitting the units up. It's super easy to lose 20 drones to that. He only ended up losing 6 there at the cost of, well, 6 Hellions, 2 Reapers, and a Liberator. I actually, once again, have to call this an advantage right now for Zerg, because at this point, he can just simply transition towards mass droning. One thing that I noticed at IEM Katowice is that none of the top-level Terran players really liked playing mech, which is a little bit strange to me. It seems like every single Terran player that I face on the ladder really decides to go for that mech-based army. It's super common. I mean, not so much over the last week, which is, you know, obviously because of IEM Katowice, since, you know, all of the top-level Terran players weren't playing mech. I guess ladder players are starting to copy that as well. Like, for example, a very common build in Zerg versus Protoss was Protoss players going for adept builds. That's one of the styles that Hurricane was playing. It's one of the things that Zest was playing as well. And all of a sudden, literally every single opponent that I've faced so far on the ladder this week, they have not been going Starport opener or Stargate openers anymore, but they've all been going for a variation of an adept opener. So it's similar right now in ZVT, where a lot of Terrans are focusing on bio again. But it's curious to me why there wasn't really that much mech play. My only real reason that I can come up with is that, well, they obviously think that mech is not as good as bio, but I think also Terran players kind of have swarm host PTSD. It's a very common thing for Terran players at this point, and Protoss players alike as well. None of them really enjoy that that swarm host based army. Anyways, so once again, Marine Medevac base force right here from Maru. Got some siege tanks coming up as well. Now, I like this. Rogue is going for what seems to be Muraling Bane. The oldest StarCraft 2 style in the book. Well, we can say the same right here actually for Terran. Getting the kill here on the 4th would be huge. Delaying that one by even just a bit is massive, but look at the amount of Zerglings available. A bunch of them are swooping in from the side. Ooh, wow. Actually, those Marines in a bit of an awkward spot. They are going to be lifted up inside of the Medevac, or inside of the Medevac right there at the last possible second. But that already was a bit of a failed attack. Delaying the 4th command center for Zerg, or rather the 4th hatchery for Zerg, it's very critical. Especially when playing Muta-based armies, you really need that extra gas. Already though, we see another hatchery going up over here on the left-hand side of the map, so super quick 5th. Now that was way too aggressive. Maru actually reinforcing this quite a bit more. And you know what? This is now a bit of a disaster for the Zerg. He ended up losing a very significant chunk of links there. I think he must have lost like 30 Zerglings fighting, you know, a bunch of Marines there. Not ideal at all. And that does mean eventually, despite this push failing miserably the first time around, the hatchery does fall. Not very common actually for Terran players to continue that push, so I like the idea a lot. Maru anticipating that the next hatchery was planted down over here. Sadly for him though, not the case. Just going to be able to scan and get some creep right here for his troubles. He sees the Mutas at this point. But I mean, that's way more Marines than Mutas. Need to have a really juicy connection if you want to deal with that. Either way, 4th command center is coming up as well. Man, he's really that's not going to happen, dude. Yeah, he really wants to wants to roll his Banelings into a bunch of Marines while they're on the retreat or something, but especially rolling them into Marines off creep against someone of the caliber of Maru seems insane to me. Like, he tried. He wanted to get lucky, but it didn't happen. Will get himself a siege tank for his troubles, but that has not paid for the Spire just yet. The real strength of Mutas, though, is that you get map control back, right? So, up to this point, it really was the Terran player who was in charge of the map. Right now, it's going to be the Zerg player who can get quite a bit of damage done. He's going +2/+2, and then also the flyer attack weapons. So, I wouldn't be surprised if he decides to go for a lot more Mutalisk. This is 17 Mutas right now. It really does feel like an old-school game of StarCraft. Maru knows now where the new 4th base has been acquired. This base is so critical, by the way, for Zerg. And since so much money went into those Mutas, right, I just don't see enough Banelings. Yeah, beautiful moves here by Maru. I mean, once again, the hatchery right here on the low ground will be acquired, but this is not ideal. Ooh, actually, also a couple of Marines managed to get underneath those Mutas. Maru taking firm control of this game so far. Once again, catches a couple more. Wow. Well, you know what? That was only 2. Could have been like 6, but... very unfortunate. I love the idea right now of going for a switch from siege tanks into Widow Mines and then also a Thor. It's really, really, really good. He's also getting himself a couple of Marauders at this point with concussive shells, so they can be the ones that the Banelings roll into. Maru making all the right calls. Now, it comes down to micro, right? If you micro properly, which is what Maru is known for, this should be easy peasy and pretty much in the bag. He's got himself +3 coming up here as well, which is awesome. Don't forget about +3 Carapace, please, or +3 Armor, rather. Well, this is kind of a silly drop. That's never going to happen, obviously. But this is a distraction right here for the main Terran army that's moving forward. Doesn't look that menacing to me yet. One clump of Banelings into that Bio army can immediately change the tide of battle. But Maru, I mean, he's sitting comfortably right here in this portion of the map. Beautiful pickup right there as well. Oof. Negating some of that splash damage there from that Zerg force. At the same time, by the way, right here in the top left-hand corner, more and more bases are being acquired. Hatchery falls, and, well, now we're seeing Zerg that is essentially stuck on 3 hatcheries. I mean, he's trying to make a 4th and also a 5th and all that, but I've got a feeling this one also won't go up. Go up against a Terran player who's already a full base ahead. There's a planetary fortress over here, buddy. I don't even know if you're going to be able to get this base. Oh, man. Oh, my God. The hold position right here on the SCVs. Negating so much of this as well. Oh, did you see that? Oh, my God. He loaded the SCVs into the planetary. He actually saved like 10 SCVs by loading them into the planetary. Beautiful move. Rogue gets absolutely outplayed in game number 2. He's gonna have to tighten up in game 3 because this was a bit of a disaster. Okay, so with the score evened up, we find ourselves on the map Ephemeron. Pretty good map for Zerg versus Terran, but it always feels a little bit more Terran favored to me. I always love playing on this map whenever I get Terran versus Zerg because Zerg is pretty much always forced to take their 4th in the same location, right? So, for example, on the map we just saw, Zerg can go for a bunch of different locations for their 4th base, and, well, deciding where you want to push is rather difficult. On this map, I mean, Zerg always takes the 3rd over here, right? Natural on the low ground here, and then 3rd right over here. And then the 4th is going to be either on this high ground or either on this low ground, right? Those are the 2 most common locations. And the nice thing is you can always push through these rocks in the same direction and get into a good spot regardless. So for Zerg, it is absolutely critical to get this entire section of the map creeped up, right? They need to get as much creep as they can in this area of the map in particular. So if Maru in any way, shape, or form can deny that creep spread initially, he's gonna be in a phenomenal position. We'll have to keep an eye out, though, on exactly what he wants to go for. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if it's once again going to be that bio-based army. It seemed to work out absolutely brilliantly. I mean, game number 1 obviously was a little bit sloppy, but game 2, way, way better by Maru. He just completely shut down Rogue. That game wasn't even close, right? Like, nothing went in favor right there of Rogue. Maru completely shut him down. So, nice little bit of momentum right here going into game 3 as well. Momentum is actually huge. It's one of the things that people don't really talk about too much in StarCraft, but just winning one of those games super decisively makes your opponent worry about the next game and makes you feel really good about the next game. So I do feel like it's a pretty important thing to keep in mind right now as well. Maru, yeah, he made a sloppy mistake game number 1 that caused his defeat eventually. But I mean, it wasn't necessarily a super bad game, right? It's something that can easily be fixed, but just not making that mistake Game number 2, he just shut down his opponent like it was just like your regular Diamond League or whatever opponent, right? Like he made him look like he was a full league ahead of him. We'll see what goes down right here in the third one. And already Maru, making some confident moves, decides to go for a little bit of harassment over here at the third. This is annoying, primarily because it forces one of the queens off creep. And sometimes it can cause this Reaper to even get the kill on the drone. Now, yeah, he's even going to make the engineering bay over here. So this is just made to delay that third base for as long as possible. A couple of Zerglings now running across the map already. 2 of them at home. Eventually, this queen will come out, but this is just a bit of a disaster right now already for Rogue. Just makes it very, very annoying. Now, he's going to have to deal with this properly, but notice here, okay. He decided to go for the queen injects. Now, normally you go tumor first, which really slows down the Zerg player quite a bit, right, as far as that creep spread goes. He's going to be able to go for a lot of units faster this way. So, going for the... Oh, my God. Beautiful micro there by Maru. That was gorgeous. He's going to be able to go for, like... Oh, he even gets the kill on the third drone right now. So annoying. Rogue can go for an aggressive push-off of this. But getting that creep spread in the right spot later on really is going to be difficult already from this position right here. Because the first tumor is like a good 30 seconds delayed, right? Wouldn't be surprised, yeah, if he once again injects. I think this has to be some sort of timing attack here from Rogue. I mean, otherwise she just died to the 1-1 timing or the 2-2 timing of Terran. The creep is going to be in a very vulnerable position. He's also not adding on any additional queens. He's making a few overlords. Now, I've not seen, like, a tech structure yet, though. Is it going to be a Baling Nest or a Roach Warren? Because I feel like he has to go for either of the two. Maybe I'm completely misreading this, though. Could be. Could be that Rogue is a little bit tilted after that first game. Yeah, he's not really going for anything. Now he's adding on additional queens? Huh. The creep spread, though, it's so far... Like... The issue is, right, if you get the creep spread delayed early on, you're not going to be able to hold on to your 4th base. And I know that's, like, pretty far into the future at this point, but it's just a little bit strange. I think Rogue has something cheeky planned for this game. I think that's also the reason, by the way, why Maru decided to go for the engineering bay block over here. Obviously, he can cancel it. It slows down his own tech advancement a little bit, but yeah, he's feeling confident. Goes for the 3rd command center here regardless. Does have the Liberator also. Gonna send that one across the map. Double Evo chamber significantly quicker here from Rogue, so we'll see if it's gonna be missile or melee upgrades. Oh, tell us! I want to know what the plan here of the Zerg is. Okay, it is gonna be melee and Carapace, so... I guess he's, at this point, just gonna dedicate 4 queens to the inject. Or rather, to the creep spread. Which is one way of getting the creep in the right spot. But this always feels a little bit vulnerable to me. It feels a little bit risky. Alright. Good start here from Maru, that's for sure. Definitely the one who gets to be in a more comfortable position. At the same time, though. Ooh, Hellions. Oh, man, I've seen this before. He tried to actually finish off the wall right there by making an additional structure there. 3 drones so far. Is that enough? No. 5 drones? Is that enough? No. 8 drones? I mean, it's getting there. 10 drones? Okay, 11 drones in total. Maybe 12? No, 11 drones in total. Not bad whatsoever. Did the Liberator get picked off? It looks like it did. Which of the units got the kill? Actually, did it? No, it did. But I don't know where the kill was gotten. Must have been one of the queens. 11 drones. Just adds insult to injury. Just makes it much harder for Rogue to progress. Now, I know Terran players will look at this and think, Lowko, he's still at the same amount of workers. Zerg Imba, re. I mean, mules obviously are not to be underestimated. Look at the income difference right now between both of these players. Maru getting a very nice little advantage there. With the orbital command now also safely finishing at this point, I'm really liking this position once again for Maru. Now, the creep spread, though, will get out of control pretty quick since there's so many queens dedicated to it. But it's still going to be a little bit slower than I would like to see, though. Alright, so. The 10 Marine harass. A little bit of an odd amount of Marines. Must be because of the amount of Hellions that he ended up losing here, that he doesn't want to, like, send in too much. Maybe he was just a little bit late on these reinforcing Marines to arrive on this side of the map. Regardless, yeah, look at this. It's going to head on over straight to the 4th, and this is what I was talking about, right? How are you going to defend this as Zerg? You're not. You're just not. Like, the creep threat is not far enough. Oh my god, gets the kill on it as well. Rogue kind of feels like he's falling apart. Now, at the same time, he's dealing a little bit of damage here on the other side. Kills 3 SCVs. That's nice. Okay, now this is cool. I haven't seen this before. 4th base taken over on the right-hand side of the map. I think this is a bit of a desperate move in a way, because Rogue, he knows that his opponent is just going to deny his 4th base for all of eternity. He's unlikely, though, to check this side of the map. It's a bit gambly because Zerg obviously is now expanding towards, you know, the Terran player, and if there's a planetary over here on this high ground, I mean, that base is as good as dead. A couple of drones actually now get spotted, so, well, Maru should know exactly what's going on. At the same time, though, Lynx do manage to get into the base. Really not that many defensive units available, but SCVs obviously, they're kind of like those worker units for the humans in Warcraft 3, the militia. They can be pulled off the line as well. They don't get any weapons, but they can soak up some of that damage. And, well, here we go. Maru gets into the mineral line and deals a tremendous amount of damage. 21 drones go down right here in the blink of an eye. Maru, oh my god, even with the Hellbats on the ramp, they get so much damage done. What a disaster for Rogue. Oh my god, GG is cold. Maru, once again, slaps down Rogue. So here we go. We find ourselves on Zen LE. Now, this is actually the game that I originally was going to cast. I wanted to cast one game of this Best-of-5 series initially, but, you know, I figured, you know what? This is a good one. We should be in for a treat. I think people would really enjoy it if I cast the full series instead. So I wanted to only cast the game on Zen, which is definitely the best game of the series. So strap in, because we are in for a treat. Honestly, feels like Rogue has been playing a little bit sloppily, though, up to this point. Right? Like, I mean, there's no denying that Maru wasn't playing perfect either in game 1, but game number 2 and 3, he really was on point. Making very few mistakes, just playing better than his opponent, and definitely deserving those victories. Rogue must be not too happy with his performance so far. I can imagine at the very least. I mean, I know I'm being very critical, but it's just that these players, I've seen them play a lot of games. And Rogue definitely can do better than that, you know? Like, he's one of the best Zerg players for a reason. And losing that many drones and you know, getting your creep spread denied and just handling all of the aggression kind of awkwardly, it's not what we should expect from someone of this caliber. So let's see if we can get it together once again in this particular game. It is going to be a hatch gas pool once more. No proxy barracks yet, actually. I'm quite surprised. Maru, usually when he gets a match point, he decides to go for some proxy barracks. He used to do that actually for a while. Whenever he would play against someone who he deemed was weaker than him, or whenever he was ahead in the series, he would pretty much always go for some sort of cheese. I remember him actually playing against SOS at BlizzCon like 2 years ago, which is when he was really doing that style a lot. And SOS just found the cheese 3 games in a row. Maru traveled from South Korea to, I think this was in Anaheim in California. He traveled halfway across the world only to get 3-0'd in like a 15-minute best-of-5. It was really silly. But Maru was just going for stupid cheeses every game, and I think he's probably rethinking that whenever he wants to right now. He's probably thinking back of that one time that he got absolutely murdered by SOS whenever he considers cheesing in a series right now. Once again, a little bit of harassment over here at the 3rd base, and you can see this is just a nuisance. Oof. The Reaper gets here. He denied the drone from going into that one Vespene, but it's just an annoying position to be in. Now, he can still take the 3rd base. Yeah. Oh, close one. Very close one. He didn't have the money there to morph in a Spore Crawler since he just made the 3rd base. Did have the money, though, to go for that one Extractor. Okay. So, all things considered, not too crazy, but it's one thing to certainly keep in mind. Now, what is Maru doing over here? Okay. This is the one that was scouting, right? The harassment one. And he's apparently making a 2nd factory on his side of the map. Okay. So, I believe I saw Innovation play this at some point during IEM Katowice, where he decided to go for double factory. Now, double factory used to be a standard build, where people basically would go for really quick blue flame upgrades. I like it because on this map, there's multiple entrances into the natural. And Hellions do fit through this little choke point. I think Rogue has to wall this off in a little bit, because otherwise it could be a disaster. But I think it's going to be a tech lab right here on this factory. And then probably blue flame. So blue flame Hellion openers or blue flame Hellbat openers, they were very common a couple years ago. They've fallen out of fashion because Zerg players got so good at defending them. Also because they got really good at scouting them. We'll see what exactly will end up going down. Now, notice right here that Maru is still going for that really quick starport. So, not seeing a flying unit at like, you know, the 4.5 or so minute mark really would set the Zerg player off regardless. I wonder what exactly he wants to go for. Keep in mind, yeah, he is going to wall off. Hellions are mechanical units. Hellbats, however, are mechanical and biological, meaning that Hellbats can be healed up by Medivacs, which is huge. That little bit of knowledge is absolutely massive. So far in these games, we've seen Rogue play Roach Ravager in game number 1, and I was gonna say Marine, but Ling Bane in game number 2 and 3. I like the play of the Roach Ravager quite a bit better of his, so I wouldn't be surprised if we're gonna be seeing Roach Ravager again, because the Ling Bane style really didn't work. But look at this, Rogue with the star sense. He sees what's going on. He sees the little green light right there inside of the tech lab too. So that signifies that something is researching. And I mean, you don't have to research siege mode anymore. You're not going to go for Drilling Claws at this point in the game. It is definitely going to be Blue Flame. So already, look at this. I love it. A little bit of a wall is being set up. Now, that's a cheeky wall as well. It's a wall where Zerglings can leave, but Hellions can't enter. Spinecrawler coming up here too. But that's still an awful lot of damage, though, that these Hellbats can do. Blue Flame is done. The Infernal Pre-Igniter. Rogue pretending like he's a Protoss player. This is usually what Protoss players do. And you know what? This defense so far, spot on. Really, really nicely done so far by Rogue. Was that the Roach Warren, by the way? Oh my god, I think that was the Roach Warren. Yeah, the Roach Warren was just killed. Oh my god, that's a disaster. Now he's only got a bunch of, like... actually, 9 SCVs ended up going down here on the other side of the map as well. I think that must have been the Zerglings that run in. But right now he's going to have to defend this with purely just Zerglings and then also a couple of Queens. The Queens are starting to take a lot of damage though, but they have been shooting those spines for a very, very long time. Yeah, the Zerglings ran across the map. That was a lot of damage actually that was being done at the same time. Once again, the Lynx are moving across. Yeah, Hellbats are so much slower. Another Queen does fall, but I think this should be defended for the most part. Only one drone. Dude. Only one drone was killed up to this point. Zerglings now, this time around, do face the restrictions right there of entering the base. Okay, a couple more drones will fall, but I mean, that was definitely not worth it. You gotta keep in mind, right, that Zerg decided to, like, make all of this. And all of it basically, or Terran rather, made all of this, and you know, he barely got any work done. I mean, that second factory is not really going to be able to produce that much more. Zerg will probably go for the kill on that thing in just a little bit. That was some beautiful defense right there by the South Korean Zerg. Pretending like he's a Protoss player and making a bit of a wall of over here. And I love the fact that he's, like, created that little choke point over here. That's really cheeky. The really skinny units can get in. Now, looks like Maru actually has another wave to his attack. This is the third wave of the Hellions. This time around, it's going to be with Hellions inside of a plane. Got a feeling, though, Zerglings and Queens will probably be able to defend that one just fine as well. Especially if we can't unload. Yep, there we go. Nicely done by Rogue, man. This is the Rogue I like to see. This is the Rogue I want to see. The one who's on point and really figures out what's happening. Now, obviously, going for this... I mean, yeah, it didn't go perfectly. It didn't go as planned. But Maru right now has a second factory out. Tech Lab, well, I mean, that one will likely be picked off here at some point. But he's got the third base regardless. All things considered, this could have been an absolute disaster. That was just game over right from the get-go. But since the Roach Warren was killed, right? Zerg couldn't really go for a very easy counterattack. I think if that Roach Warren did finish up, Rogue probably would have overmade Roaches and then went for the counterattack. So the fact that Maru managed to get the kill on that really went in his favor. And it now allowed him to go for the third command center. Pretty much uncontested here. So worker-wise, things are still looking okay. Now, once again, a Nidus network. Once again, we do have that Roach-based army. There's a lot of Evo chambers, by the way, in this game. I wonder if he wants to go for a push right when the Roach speed and then the upgrades finish up. I wouldn't mind it whatsoever. Brenda apparently going on a bit of an adventure all by herself. Moving off creep. A lot of damage was done, though, up to this point. But not enough. I don't know if I like this positioning on the third command center too much, to be honest. I feel like the third command center should be over here. It just makes more sense, right? Like, this is a pretty easy to attack into position for Zerg, especially when you know that the creep spread is this far out. I mean, yeah, it's not great. Ooh, now this is kind of nice, though. Ooh, he could decide to drop there. Decides to actually go back. Okay, I was gonna say, maybe he's gonna try and, like, leapfrog some of those Hellions into the natural instead. Here's a big Roach Ravager push. And yeah, apparently Maru also decides this is just not a fight I can take. He evacuates the low ground immediately. Tries to keep as much of this alive as he can. Oh, Kobe. Can we still shout Kobe? I mean, that went completely naturally. I think we should, just in his honor. Still shout Kobe there regardless. Either way, the Roaches and the Ravagers do move forward. Man, I caught myself off guard right there by shouting Kobe. That was not intentional. No disrespect whatsoever. Yeah, I think we should. Just because, you know, he was a great man. Anyways, Nidus Network right here inside of the main base. A lot of SCVs are being killed. In the meantime, by the way, a couple of... Ooh, Blue Flame Hellions over at the third base of the Zerg. They deal an awful lot of damage. Queens, in the meantime, trying to kill a structure. Takes them a little while before they get anything done. That one tank right there from the back, shooting away at a lot of these units, too. Looks like the Hellions eventually were taken care of as well. Both players losing tons and tons and tons of units. I think that, yeah, Zerg has to get out, though, right? That siege tank is dealing so much damage. Like, it's just... Well, the queens just keep transfusing each other. I guess that kind of helps, but I kind of feel like he should probably try and get out, or maybe go for, like, a Nidus Worm in the natural. Maybe that would not be a terrible idea. Medevacs completely out of energy at this point, but ooh, Maru stims forward, gets the kill right there on the Nidus Worm, and that does mean that this will be shut down. All right, so what are we talking about right now? Once again, 60 drones are killed at this point. But the third command center is done. Mules are going to be amazing here for Maru. Mules are going to be his lifeline. Terran really can't do much when they don't have a good mineral income. Is this going to be a terrible position for him to be in? No, not quite. Look at that. The mineral income still looking pretty solid. Supply-wise, though, things are looking pretty even as well, considering Zerg has a lot of that supply caught up in Roach Ravager. It's just not a very efficient army composition. I kind of feel like the biggest thing that's not going for Maru right now is his attack upgrades and his armor upgrades. He needs bio upgrades. Now, this is huge, though. Manages to dodge those biles absolutely beautifully. Oh, well. I think this is... Well, yeah, now the queens are here, too. They transfuse like crazy. I don't know if he wants to, like, continue fighting here, though. It does kill the Nidus Network, it looks like. And Maru actually wants to continue being here regardless. He's completely out of energy on these medevacs, and that's one of the problems. He's not really healing himself from the stim pack that he's hurting his own units with. Okay. Yeah, he wants to probably go for a scan over here and deny some of that creep spread, but... a little bit of a expensive thing to do right now, right? Because every scan, it's not a mule, right? It's not a mule. Now, by the way, notice he's not making any additional SCVs anymore. So, okay, no, he does. Okay, I was going to say, like, he starts up +2/+2 right now as well. So he wants to play this one out. I thought for a second maybe he wants to go for an all-out assault and just make a ton of units and just send them all to its opponent's side of the map. Ooh, well, stop bleeding out siege tanks, though, because that's a little bit sloppy. That's not what we want to see here. These Marines and Marauders also only have a single medivac, so there's not much they can do. The boys are pulled off the line. This is a good position right now for the Zerg player for sure. Now, the SCVs are soaking up some damage, but keep in mind, Zerg can replenish this army relatively easily. But this does create, once again, that bit of a tempo advantage, though. Maru is still out on the map with a bunch of his units. Once again, scans, confirms the position of a bunch of those creep tumors. But the fourth base is up right now. This is a very close fight. The upgrades really not in favor right here of Maru, which really hurts him. Upgrades are just so big, especially with fast attacking units like Marines and, well, Marauders too, actually. They attack relatively quickly in the grand scheme of things. I mean, they're no immortals. But once again, the third base gets evacuated. Maru makes the executive decision, knowing his opponent was going to push across the map. Maybe he will try to land it over at the safer location on the right-hand side instead. Big medevac drop right now, though. A Doom drop headed towards the main base right here of the Zerg player. There's so many queens, man. Those queens not injecting and accumulating energy has actually been a massive boost. Still, does he have enough? Well, maybe he could decide to stay around there for a little bit, but it's so difficult to make that call. At the same time, the Roaches and Ravagers once again on the other side of the map, trying to get some damage done. A lot of SCVs are being killed, and at this point, it's starting to be an issue. Zerg is more than twice the worker count, right? Or Zerg has more than twice the worker count right now than that of the Terran player. And, well, the main base is running out. The natural is running out. Maru, you're running out of money. You don't have anything to mine anymore. Now, ooh, wow, this is actually a big potential fight here. The medevacs unloaded the units as they were trying to, like, the Zerg that is trying to, like, scatter themselves through this little, like, I don't know, this maze. This, how do you call that? Like, this labyrinth that we have on this, this little map. Either way, Maru has taken the high ground once again. Rogue wants to push forward. He's maxed out at this point in the game, but keep in mind, a lot of that supply is still on the production tab. +2/+2 is done right now. Rogue bleeding out a ton of units. Is this the best fight for him? I'm really not necessarily sure that it is, but he's running out of money. Rogue knows it. He's bleeding out a lot of units, but he knows he's going to be able to replenish this force much easier than the Terran can. And despite that not necessarily being the best trade, I probably would have liked to see him wait just like 10 seconds longer until the reinforcing Zerg units arrived. It still went into his favor absolutely brilliantly. Alrighty, so here we go. The final map of this Best of 5 series, where we find ourselves on Triton. Now, I'm curious where this one is going to go. Here's the thing. This is probably the most standard map in the current map pool as far as macro games go, and also as far as like early game aggression goes. Both sides have multiple different options available, and there's no denying that we could certainly see a little bit of cheese here, although so far neither of them really has shown us any of that, right? Both of them really have been focusing on that much more macro-focused style up to this point. Wouldn't be surprised if Rogue once again decides to go for that Roach Ravager style. It just simply worked way better for him in the, well, in the first game and then also the fourth. And I would also be surprised, actually, judging by the fact that Maru is making that very first barracks on top of his main ramp, that he decides to go for any real aggression here. Probably will just go for that Marine Marauder medevac-based force once again. Now, this map, it is pretty standard. I actually reviewed the new maps. As you probably know, there's a new season coming in StarCraft 2 in about a week or two. I believe the 11th of March, which is actually next week, if you're watching this on the week that it goes live. The video, that is. There is a new ladder map pool coming, and while I think we can all agree that Zen Alley, the previous map we just saw, is currently the craziest map in the current map pool, I would say out of the 7 maps that we will have next season, it's probably the 5th, okay? So, well, I mean, 7 being the craziest and like 1 being the least crazy, right? I would say in the next season, Zen will probably be one of the more standard maps. There's a couple of maps coming that really will make Zerg, well, regret some of their decisions, okay? Dominating so hard over the next, or over like the last year or two, right? Zerg has really been showing us some incredible results, and it kind of looked like to me, at the very least, by judging the maps, that, well, without playing on them, that is, but that the next season is going to be quite a bit harder for Zerg. I looked at them during the live stream. So for those of you unfamiliar, I stream Monday through Saturday, 2 to 8 p.m. CET at twitch.tv/LowkoTV. And I actually also posted a little highlight video of my thoughts on the new maps to my Facebook page. I mean, I would have posted it to YouTube, but the thing is, it's not really a kind of video that really gets, you know, that many people excited. It's a bit of a nerdy video, right? Reviewing maps. Anyways, here's that Reaper once again in the natural. Once again, that engineering bay over at the 3rd base as well. Just trying to slow down this base ever so slightly. It's just a nuisance, and it's just really Maru taking control of the early game here. Obviously, this does delay some of the things on his side of the map as well, but it's not too crazy, right? He can certainly spare some of the money right now, and it's just gonna slow down Zerg ever so slightly. Once again, though, double inject. I'm quite surprised by this. Maybe he wants to go for some more aggressive pushes this time around. I mean, he did the same thing on Ephemeron earlier, and that really didn't work very well for him. Oh, now that is cute. Oh, I love that. The grenade positioning right there. Oh, it booped the queen back towards the right. So annoying. Eventually, though, this base should go up. There it is. And, well, while Maru didn't really get exactly what he was looking for, he just wanted to delay the base, right? He didn't get the kill on the drone. He didn't get the kill on the base. He didn't, like, permanently delay it or force Zerg to take, like, the high ground base or whatever. But that was pretty much best case scenario right there if you don't get any actual kills. Okay, this is the moment apparently when that Schumer comes out. So one of the things that Dark was doing a lot was going for a 330 Roach Warren and then making a bunch of roaches and sending them across the map while droning behind it. I really like that style. It looks like Maru does as well, actually, judging by the fact that he's once again going straight up into Banshees. Going straight into Banshee, it's the standard, you know, build if you want to be safe, like I mentioned in the very first game today. It's just really strong against those roach-based pushes, so I think that Maru is secretly hoping that it's going to be one of those builds. Luckily, though, for Rogue, not the case. Goes once again for the double Evo chamber. He did the same thing on Ephemeron. I really didn't like that build very much, if I'm being honest with you, but that's also primarily because of the creep spread. On this map, you have multiple choices for fourth bases. You can take it bottom left, you can take it on the high ground, you can take it right over here. We'll see. I know I'm really highlighting the Zerg build so far, but honestly, like, Terran's been doing, like, pretty much a variation of the exact same thing every single game so far. Like, I'm pretty sure that this third command center has been made every single game at, like, 420. So 420 third CC. All of you are like 420 blaze it. No, guys. That's not it. It's 420 third CC. Okay, try that. It's a good idea. Here's the lair coming up. Also, quite surprisingly, actually, we haven't seen a single battlecruiser opener here. It seems like mech and battlecruiser openers are super popular on the ladder, but... Maru not going for any of that. I don't mind. Personally, as a Zerg player at heart, I much prefer playing against the Bio army than I do against the Mech army. I feel way better playing against Bio than I do against Mech, so I'm kind of glad that at the very least there's, you know, once again, a bit of a Bio approach on the ladder. I don't mind that whatsoever. But I do think the battlecruiser openers are super annoying to deal with. I guess it's because, like, the top-level Zergs, like Rogue, they have gotten so good at defending against that kind of style that he's just decided to not really, you know, go in that direction anymore. Once again, a Hellbat push coming up. Spore Crawler, very important here, actually. Oh, well, that one will be running out of energy at this point. Hellbat's dealing a little bit of damage. A lot of Zerglings are being created. No Roach Warren this time around either, but keep in mind, right? Killing units, that's not what you're here for. You're here to kill drones. So Maru isn't really getting anything done here. Like, maybe he will kill a couple of queens, maybe he'll kill some Zerglings and all that, but without, like, drones going down, this really isn't a very good position. Apparently one Hellion also trying to get some work done, but that is 2 SCVs in total. Ooh, this defense right here from Rogue has been way better than it was in previous games, in the sense that he didn't lose a lot of workers. Now, he did lose more resources there in total, but this is the moment where Zerg really can, like, let go, right? Like, they can absolutely make as many drones as they want to right now, because Terran isn't going to be able to do much until, like, 1-1 is done. And look at the timing right here of 1-1. It's not even, like, you know, remotely finished. I guess he can, like, load up a bunch of Marines into, like, a Medivac and all that, but, like, it's still not ideal. Stimpack did finish. Third base is done as well, so Maru is likely going to spend a lot of his time right now trying to secure the third, but this is the moment where Zerg can go for the fourth base freely. Apparently, once again, go for the Spire freely. He can go bailing speed. He can go +2 melee here as well in a little bit. Liking this position right now quite a bit for Rogue. Now, certainly, this is not Terran, like, completely, you know, in a terrible position here. He did end up getting a lot of kills there as well on queens and all that, but it's just not what you're looking for. It's just not what you're looking for at that stage in the game. I feel like Maru is scariest when he can just continuously apply pressure. He's always applying pressure with either like Medivacs or run-bys with Hellions. He's a really annoying player to play against, I'm sure. But he's always hitting at multiple angles, and right now he just doesn't really have the force to do so. A couple of Zerglings. Looks like they may want to go on over to the third base just to scout out exactly what's going on. Zerg doesn't actually know about the fact that the third base is there, but, I mean, he makes the assumption that it is, which is clever. This is the 5th hatch, right? So I hope Maru knows that this is not the 4th, it's the 5th. No siege tanks or anything like that over here either. Bailing speed is going to finish up in just a second. Looks like the Banshee will get shot out of the sky. The 5th base is not that critical at this point. Oh, no cancel, man. He's not canceling anything. At the same time, ooh, 10 SCVs get blown up by a couple of those Banelings. I don't know why he doesn't cancel those hatcheries. Maybe it's just a little bit, yeah, a little bit sloppy. I don't think he's purposefully doing that. Maybe he's not prioritizing it as highly, though, as I think he should. But he knows a lot more about StarCraft than I do. Well, bailing speed is done. +2/+2, not yet, but this is certainly going to be an easy peasy hold right now for the Zerg. Fourth hatchery does get spotted here too. Rogue does also now have Mutalisk out, so he should be able to hunt down these Medivacs quite easily. And killing those Medivacs actually could trigger a massive counter. Yeah, right now, you can see the moment when Maru realizes that he's going up against Mutas. Immediately decides to boost those Medivacs away. Cannot lose those. Like, if you lose 20 supply worth or so of Terran units right now, Zerg will be all over your base. Immediately goes Drilling Claws again, so he wants to go for those Widow Mines. It's a good idea. Good splits there by Rogue. There's still one more Widow Mine. Ooh, that one was a little bit more sloppy. He tried to, like, retarget, I think, manually. Maru, that is. +2/+2 is coming up. And you know what? Maru actually has now created a bit of a staging ground here. Really getting that tempo advantage. He's going to be able to continuously push from this position. Since the creep is so far out, it means that Rogue has to roll all of these Banelings off creep. Great splits there by the South Korean Terran, getting a lot of value. And you know what? I think he might be able to go after the base right here on the high ground. Oh my god. Maru pulling a rabbit out of a hat. That's one of the most difficult moves to make if you're a Terran player, right? When you're behind in that position, and then to continuously fight Zerg into taking bad trades. So easy to accidentally miss micro that. Another hatchery was taken in the bottom left-hand corner, but right now it's essentially once again 3 base versus 3 base. Love the addition right now of 1 Thor as well. This is clearly a practice style. Normally, right, here's the thing. Normally Terrans become scary when they have 2-2 done. Because 2-2 will finish up rather early, right? Zerg needs to go Hive before they can go 3-3. So Terran finishing up 2-2 is going to finish... Like, it's going to start the advantage, usually, with infantry-based forces. So... I'm curious to see where this is going to go here. Maru just taking his sweet time, not really taking any risks. The Mutas, once again, not achieving very much of anything. Base in the bottom left-hand corner, by the way, does get scanned right now, so Maru knows what's up. Where's the Thor? Where's the Big Daddy Thor? Did he cancel it? Oh no, it's okay. It's over here. I was gonna say it is there somewhere. You know what? These Mutas are starting to deal a lot of damage. I think this is what he was looking for earlier. Zerglings right now trying to make their way towards the natural. Not gonna happen. All of those, well, most of those will die. And you know what? The Mutas are kind of in a weird spot right now. Ooh, Maru trying to like pin the Zerg player into a couple of different locations. But while this is all going on, though, you can see map control going heavily in favor here of Zerg. While this is all going on, Rogue is happily mining off of his 4th base, right? So he's keeping the Terran player occupied. Okay. Once again, a couple Banelings apparently feeling brave. Not gonna happen, buddy. This base, though? Yeah, not gonna happen either. Great cancel there by Maru, despite that being super low health. Here we go. 2-2 is done. 3-3 has been started up. Maru going for what seems to be an all-out assault. He doesn't have a 4th command center, but he's near maxed out. He was probably hoping that another base would be acquired right here on the high ground, but there's no hatchery here. That doesn't mean he needs to move very deep onto the creep. Zerg can come from every single angle right now, and I'm not entirely sure if I like this spot all too much. Yeah, Rogue going for a bit of like a push right here to pick up some of those reinforcing Terran units. This is a super difficult position to be in. Maru, I don't know if you want to go that deep onto the creep, man. This is such a risk. There's a lot of Banelings over here as well. He has to split his attention to so many locations on the map. At the same time, the Mutalisk and the Zerglings have made their way towards the 3rd base. Maru loses 21 SCVs in the blink of an eye. 4th command center also was killed, so that does mean that Maru is going to have to retreat right now. Not getting anything done with that push that was probably supposed to be an all-in. Great maneuvering right there by Maru, or by Rogue rather. Knowing his opponent was going to go for that push, so instead he decided to go for the counter-attack, you know? Not really allow Maru to be in his strongest form. Maru is great when he's like pushing like that, and he's like capable of like pushing forward, stimming a couple units, pulling back at the right time, baiting you off creep. Just preventing that entirely by going for a massive... Well, this could be huge too, actually. Ooh. Going for like a massive counter-attack, really clever. Still having enough Banelings at home as well to delay that push if Terran decided to go for a bit of a move. And while I like the position of Maru here quite a bit a little bit ago, right now it's starting to look a little more shaky. Now, one thing he still has going for himself is these 3-3 upgrades. Notice Hive is only just now finishing up. That means 3-3 is not going to be done anytime soon. Once it finishes, though, for Zerg, I mean, Zerg at that point can also go for Ultralisks. They can go Adrenal Glands for these Zerglings, increasing their attack speed substantially. Here's 3-3 coming up. Here's the Ultra Cavern. This does get scanned immediately. So the question is Maru going to go for an all-out push? once 3-3 finishes? Or does he want to go for a Liberator switch instead and play the macro game? A couple of Banelings burrowed over here too. Since there's no creep over here, this might not be a location where Terran decides to scan. A couple of units here in the bottom left-hand corner. Looks like this will also be cleaned up by Zerg. At the same time, there's a lot of Banelings over here at the front. There's Widow Mines, though. Oh, well, he gets the Thor. You know what? That fight looked a little bit shaky, but I think it was a pretty good idea in the end. Rogue, once again, making a similar move as he did earlier, going in for the counterattack. At the same time, Terran is going to have to split right here against Banelings. Beautiful splits there by Maru, doing what he does best. Zerg, in the meantime, though, on top of all of that Terran production, he's also going for a push right here. And Maru decided to actually fly over the main command center, so this is not a planetary fortress. Hatchery does fall on the other side of the map in the meantime. Maru, once again, forced to make splits right here on creep. There's a lot of Banelings just about to finish up. How well is he going to be able to split against those? Well, so far, he's doing an excellent job, once again, burrowing those Widow Mines, but he's bleeding out, though. There's just not any Zerg or any Terran reinforcements coming down that ramp. He is going to be able to hold the ramp for now, but the command center in a natural fell. At the same time, the Queen's now pulled away from the hatcheries. And while Rogue is working on some of those medevacs, Maru decides to tap out. So it turns out, Rogue didn't want to take this straight-up fight, but he just simply swarmed his opponent on the other side of the map. Love the fact that he displayed several styles of play, right? Going for both the Roach Ravager approach, but then also the Link Bane Muta style. I do still think I like the Roach Ravager approach a little bit better for him. He just seems more comfortable playing that kind of game out. But, I mean, beautiful moves right here by Rogue. Really deserving of a game number 5 for sure. And I really hope that you enjoyed watching this series. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down below. If you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button, as well as the little bell icon so you get notified as soon as I upload more. But other than that, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile alright, and I will see you once again in the next one.